Welcome to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. Joining me today are guests just striving to dominate in their personal and professional lives while answering the question, what does it mean to be fearlessly made? Welcome back, Fearlessly Made You friends. I am so excited on this episode of Fearlessly Made You to bring yet another one of my friends. Y'all are going to get tired of me saying this because it's always another one of my friends, but that's okay. But before we get started, just want to say, as a reminder, Fearlessly Made You is the spinoff of my book, Fearlessly Made You. It's about that journey with my journey with post-traumatic stress disorder. And really it's about our stories and the impact of our stories on everyone around us. And no one is better at understanding the impact of story and community than Dillard's. As we know, Dillard's has fabulously not only styled me, but I believe our guest has a little bit of a little fluke from Dillard's as well. So thank you, Dillard's, for your partnership in styling. But without further ado, I really want to excitedly introduce our guest, Aimee Dumas. Aimee and I go way back to our Ride Society cycling days, but more so to involvement in the community. Aimee's involved in every single board possible in Pensacola. She's been here since she was 4 years old. So I say Pensacola born and bred, but she is truly Pensacola born and bred, has such an impact on everyone she meets, truly is just a great representation of our community, and it's just one of my favorite people. So welcome to Fearlessly Made You, Aimee.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much. That was a really great introduction. I really don't feel like I deserved that.
You did deserve it. Well, let's cheers to that fabulous introduction.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, I knew you were wearing your Dillard's outfit, so I was like, I need to dress in all of my Dillard's things. I love Dillard's.
Yes.
Love them.
I love the outfit. I think it's perfect. And I think everyone there would be so proud of us. So one of the things I do love, though, is I get to bring my friends on. I get to learn more about their stories because I think we are all really good at just enjoying each other's company, but sometimes we don't get to dive into some of those deeper parts. And what better way to do that than on Fearlessly Made You?
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. So let's talk about your story. So born and raised here.
Yes.
But I'm so curious as to, kind of what that's been like for you, why you stayed in the community as, a young professional and, the impact of staying here and kind of knowing this community has had on your life.
Well, so my story is a little bit of a bumpy road for me being in Pensacola. I will get a little deeper, I guess, with you about this. But I was born and raised here, grew up in Perdido, went to elementary, middle, high school here, and then just somehow kind of just lost my way. So I didn't really know what I was going to do, didn't have any goals, didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. If I wanted to go to school, I had zero direction. Pensacola was not what it is now. Back then, it was, a downtown Pensacola with maybe one bar and a million attorneys and one-way streets that nobody knew how to drive on at that time, because I remember moving down there and I was going the wrong way in one-way streets because I just had never been downtown because it wasn't a thing coming from Perdido. So I started working at a restaurant, waiting tables, try to go to PSC for a little bit. And I don't know, I knew I loved Pensacola. I love the beach. I love this community with my whole heart.
Yeah.
But, I got in a little bit of trouble at 19 years old, as anybody does. And well, not anybody. That's a stretch, but some people do. Me being one of those people. And then kind of was like, okay, I got to get out of this. I've got to do something. I've got to go to school. So I moved to California with my oldest sister. This is a very long story to get to the answer or the answer to the question you asked me. Moved to California with my sister and brother-in-law at the time, went to college out there. Still was just like, I don't know what I had no idea. I didn't know at the time that being on a board was a thing. I didn't know about nonprofits. I didn't know about helping people. I didn't know how just somebody could help people, not being involved in that exact position, as somebody working for Gulf Coast Kids House or Pensacola Little Theater, et cetera. But So I went to California, still was a little just floating, I guess, just floating, and then came back to Pensacola and tried to find my footing again. And I went through a really hard time for a long period of time. And one day I decided to get on Craigslist and say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to not work in a restaurant and wait tables. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to go to school. I don't know when I woke up and why this clicked in my head, but I did this one day, and I enrolled in Northwestern online. I got a degree in social media marketing, which I do absolutely nothing with. A complete just waste of time and money, but
we won't tell anybody.
I didn't know that at the time. I know now. I got on Craigslist, which was kind of normal back then. Back then 10 years ago, you know? And so 10 years ago, I got a job working for a man named Jim Reeves, which most people know in this community, one of the most wild men that I've ever met in my life. He was very, very eclectic or eccentric, I guess is the word.
Eccentric is a good one.
But very community oriented, which I didn't know that I wanted in my life at the time.
That's fair.
So it was a big point in my life that I didn't realize until probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago that was like, it was sent to me that I needed to. I started off running errands. I found ads on Craigslist, and I was like, I'm going to run errands. I have this degree from Northwestern. I made okay money waiting tables. I was doing better, but I started off running this man's errands, and I'm like, who in the hell? Can I cuss? Can I say hell?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are worse words that have been.
I know than hell.
This is a cursing show, y'all.
I know, sorry. Oh my gosh. And I don't ever really curse for no reason other than it just does not sound right coming out of my mouth. But I was like, who the hell is this man? Like, he's buck wild. Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to stick it out and see how this goes. And then 10 years later, he's like, he probably is the best person I've ever met in my life. He pushed me basically to get involved in, Gulf Breeze Rotary, and which I live in Pensacola, but he's in Gulf Breeze Rotary, but that's neither here nor there. And then, it just snowballed into me being involved more in the community. And now I want to be on every single board that I can and help everybody and do everything that I can in the community if I had the time.
Yeah. I feel like you're accomplishing that.
I'm trying, but I don't know. Are you a member of Impact 100?
I was, yeah.
Okay, the Impact 100 is amazing to me because they service so many nonprofits of so many different varieties that it makes me feel like I'm helping other people when I don't have the time to just join every single board that I could join in the world.
And for those of you that don't know Impact 100, and I wanted you to also talk a little more about Impact 100, but there are organizations that are nonprofits that need support. And so Impact 100 requires each of its members, which are all women, to provide a upfront $1,000 donation as part of your impact. And so it's a way for us to give back, and also a way that they help fund the grants that are given out to, I know it was 10 organizations back when I was there.
I believe it's still 10.
Is it still 10?
Yeah.
And it's up to, the total I think was it's $1 million or something.
It depends on how many members. Okay. Do you mean the total?
The total amount
it depends. It solely depends on the members.
That's true.
So it could be anything, but it's been probably $1.1 million, $1.2 million.
Yeah,
I think
that's about
roughly.
where it's always. Yeah, and that's enough for $100,000 grants for 10 organizations.
At least 120 to 130 for each organization.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. And so now I love, continue on though with your description.
That kind of was my, not in a nutshell, but in a nutshell version of why I'm in Pensacola and why I love this community and why I'm here. And I don't know, it just I started working for Mr. Reeves and saw all the good that our community does. And there are a lot of nonprofits here. There's a lot of people that want to help a lot of people. And I don't know how everybody doesn't want to help everybody, I guess, all of the time. And so that really made me realize that I do want to help everybody all the time. And I don't know, I love this community. I love it. It's great.
It's so interesting for you as you're kind of talking about how you got to this place of trying to figure out like what your purpose is and what that looks like. And I almost want to kind of go backwards a little bit because for you kind of growing up, did you see a lot of community involvement?
No. Yeah. Sorry, I did not mean to.
No, you're good.
Not at all. I had like I said, I had no idea that even a nonprofit was a thing. Like as naive as that is, growing up in Perdido, which was very small, is still pretty small, but a little bit cut off from Pensacola, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't realize, and like I said before, I never really went downtown. I didn't know what was out there. And I didn't hear a lot about it. So I didn't know, and I didn't know that was a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Until I really got involved working in my job now and seeing all that Mr. Reeves does and what can be done. And that people that don't work for these nonprofits can still help.
Yes.
You know, that the community can help the community by helping all these people that are actually running nonprofits and dealing with the nitty-gritty of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the cool thing about it that you say, and I feel like there's probably a lot of people that can relate to this, is you didn't have the background of knowing what nonprofits were. You didn't have like someone saying, here are all the things I've always been involved in, like, you know, parents saying, like, this is all the things, now you're going to be involved in those. Right. So you really were kind of in this space of, like you said, trying to find yourself, trying to figure things out, happen to, you know, find this job, and then was able to use that platform to help support where you are now. When you kind of think about that too, though, I think about other people in our community, in the Pensacola community, and connections and contacts you've been able to make because of that. So let's talk about that, like how that's kind of transitioned too.
Well, that's how I ended up being on all of the boards that I'm on. It is connections, and connections are what get people involved and how people learn about other nonprofits. You know, people donate to what they care about. You know, not everybody's just going to give $100 to every single nonprofit in Pensacola. That's just a made up number. But, it happened very organically for me. Yeah. And a lot of people do know about everything or more than I did. So I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest.
I think you are, though. You definitely are. I think it's that piece of, like, as you're getting more involved, you're starting to see kind of where everyone is. And those connecting.
Yeah, and it is that. Like, you and I, obviously, we met almost basically through being involved in the same nonprofits, like the Little Theater and Gulf Coast Kids House. And, you know, I have a lot of great friends that are involved in nonprofits, and I got involved in some of those because of them and because I saw their passion and wanted to help and wanted to be involved as well. And that's how I, like Gulf Coast Kids House, I started off as an ambassador. Yeah. And, you know, a board seat opened up and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do more. This is a very, very important organization. People don't even realize what all that they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I want to spread that word as most as I can. And it's just things like that. Like, you make connections, even if you most likely don't even realize that you're making the connections that you're making. Yeah. Being involved. Like, I was in, this is a different one, but Leadership Pensacola.
Yes. Yep.
Loved Leadership Pensacola. It was fantastic. I couldn't even tell you, like, all of the time, you think of something and you're like, who knows something that could help this organization? I don't even know a good example right now, but I think back to, like, I met 60 people in Leadership Pensacola who are all involved in different things, and that connection moves to another connection, to another one, to, you know, achieve something for our community or for that certain nonprofit that just works out, and it's so great.
I love that because I'm hearing, like, the voices of people. And I think for someone, so I'm thinking about those people out there who are listening and they're like, well, isn't, like, being, like, a board member or part of all these nonprofits something, and I'm going to say it pretty bluntly, we were kind of talking about it, you know, when you hear board member, there's this stereotype of old white men that are board members.
It absolutely is a stereotype. It is.
Yeah. And so I think for those people that are hearing that and they're like, well, isn't that what a board is? I think there's something to be said about representation.
I don't think a lot of people know exactly what a board is.
Agreed.
Because even when I was on a board still didn't even fully understand what I was doing.
Well, let's break that down. Like, talk to people about like what day in the life of a board member.
Well, it honestly is not. It's not like a job.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's something that you're paid for, that
Absolutely
it's a job.
Not.
And a lot of people, I tell you, I get requests maybe weekly now. They're like, hey, I'm going to get involved in the community. I want to do this, or I want to join a board. How do I join a board? I'm like, well, you have to really, like, I can't just tell you how to join a board.
Right.
You just have to pick, are you passionate about anything?
Exactly.
What do you want to do? Who do you want to help? Who do you want to commit time to?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is time.
That's exactly.
A lot of people think it is monetary, but that's not the biggest thing. The time is the biggest thing, and your passion for it. So the stigma of it being old white men is true, yes, and it was
for so long, for
a long time. But most of the boards I'm on, they're pretty large.
Yep.
And there's a good mix now. And there's a lot of boards now that are realizing, hey, we need younger people. We need females. We need just people in all different like areas of life, like different careers that have different opinions and thoughts, but also still the passion for the community and the nonprofit they're working for. But like I was saying, people ask me all the time, and I have to narrow it down to them or just say, hey, if you don't want to commit the time, and it's not a whole lot of time, board meetings are once a month, and you typically have to sell tickets and things, but it's all worth it. And if you really truly care about it, you can do it. But it's just hard for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm being discouraging to people, but I don't want them to just join something just because they want to join something. I want them to join something that they want to help and want to commit to and want to do.
I think that circles back to kind of as you were finding your purpose, though, and kind of figuring out what that looks like.
Gosh, how did I join all the boards?
Yeah.
I just completely made up that question for you, but
no, that's good. Hey, that's what this conversation is about. We figure out where it goes from here. I love it.
I really don't know. Like I said, I had gotten into some trouble when I was younger, twice actually, and I just was spiraling, and I woke up one day and I knew I needed to get my life together, and thankfully was able to come out of that and come out of the legal system, which is not easy to do.
It is not.
Set up to fail.
Circle back to that. Yeah. That's definitely a conversation that I think we all need to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's set up to fail, especially if you're young.
Yes.
Especially if you're a young female.
100%. Oh my goodness.
It's almost impossible.
Yes.
I'm thankful. I'm grateful. I had a lot of help. I started working for Mr. Reeves. I was very lucky, and I had a light bulb on, and I got through it, thankfully, with a lot of help.
Yeah,
and realized that I needed to let people know. This is my story. I promise is making sense of the first.
It all is making sense. Okay, no, it's making perfect sense. You're good. Don't doubt that. Your story's making sense.
Okay. It all just started to click, and I knew I needed to tell people. People make mistakes. And you can't let those mistakes define you, and you have to keep going, and you have to keep doing what you want to do. Because a lot of people, one of the reasons why the judicial system fails is because people get in trouble, and they just think that it's done.
Yep.
There's nothing they can do. I lost financial aid the first time I got in trouble. I could not finish school at PSC, and that's only my fault.
Of course,
it's all my fault. But I wanted to tell people that you can still keep going. There's resources, there's things you can do. Life's not over.
Yep.
You don't need to get in this vicious cycle because you think there's nothing else you can do.
Yes. Well, and the timing, it makes sense to kind of dive into that, because I think you're bringing up a point that I feel like so many of us have to hear and understand, which is exactly that. We find ourselves in a terrible situation, whether it's a legal situation, which we can both have a conversation on, and people, you're brought down, and you're told that you're worthless, and whether it's legal or not, whatever the situation is for you, where you feel like you failed, it's that, whatever it's the voice in your head, the people around you, the system you're in,
absolutely
tells you have failed and you are worthless and there is nothing you can do from here. And we have to stop doing that. And it really is the whole focus of Fearlessly Made You is we are imperfect humans. And just because you messed up or fucked up a little bit doesn't mean, I know I said it. I said it. It doesn't mean that you're any less of a human person.
Absolutely not. And it took me a very long time to realize that. I struggled a lot. I thought, like, I didn't know what to do with myself, with my life, you know. And like you said, people around you, the judicial system, I cannot say those two words together.
Word to say in general. There's a lot of extra letters.
I know, a lot of C's. They make you feel like you're lesser than and you have failed and you need to pay, you need to, you know, do time or whatever you have to do, whatever you get, you know, and that just is all very demeaning. It's very sad, you know, and it's hard. And it's even harder in the community when people are trying to, I don't know how to word this, like, I guess trying to get people out of like poverty and homelessness and things like that. And, you know, like we deal a lot at my office and my job with homelessness. We have a project going for that. And I think to myself, am I being a hypocrite? You know, doing these things, but also have been in trouble just the same as them, but my life turned out differently. And I know I'm rambling right now and I'm not making a whole lot of sense.
Well, Southern. I liked that Southern. Well, that came out. No, you are making perfect sense though. You're not rambling, I promise.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
That's most people can't get out of.
Yes.
And I wanted to share my story and help people in that situation, not in the same situation as mine, but in similar situations. So the first board I joined was Pathways for Change, which is an organization, you know, Pathways for Change.
But I think it'd be great for the Fearlessly Made You crew to know.
Well, Pathways, they've switched gears now. They're with the homelessness project that downtown Pensacola is doing.
Okay.
But Pathways for Change is a great organization that helped people transition from prison to this program where they would get education and, you know, whatever help they needed to transition from being in jail or prison to being a citizen, you know, and that's the main reason I wanted to be involved with Pathways for Change is because I had dealt with that and not in as serious of a situation as these people, but it was my way of being able to share what I went through and hopefully helping people through that. So you asked how and why I was, you know, involved in the places that boards that I'm involved on, but that one was like the biggest one for me was Pathways for Change.
I love that, Aimee. I think that's such a powerful story and it makes me kind of emotional thinking about it in a good way because we have so many stories and that is literally exactly what we talk about with Fearlessly Made You. Our stories, sharing them, connecting, but even a bigger impact that you're able to do is helping others with their stories and the journey that they're on. I think it's so powerful.
And even if you don't help anybody or nobody takes anything from it, you know, you try.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Absolutely.
You know, I was, like I said, I was very lucky and I'm very thankful to be where I am now with the help that I had. And not everybody has that. Not everybody will have that. But, you know, people need to at least hear that story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and thinking about that too, I think there are probably so many people that kind of based on the journey that you went on and are still on, because I think we're always on a journey of healing and growth. Though you've probably, you know, the connections you've made within the community, I'm sure there are so many other people too who are seeing that journey or who you've probably even talked to that are like, I felt worthless. I felt like I couldn't do anything else and are now probably benefiting from a lot of what that work is, or at least understanding themselves a little better too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people you don't even know. You don't even know what journey they're going through, what's going on in their life, and that are still doing the best they can, or, you know, slowly declining, and you don't realize that.
Yeah.
And, there's only so much you can do, but there is something that you can do, at least just by sharing your story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, as we think about that, and thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story, I also kind of want to step it forward. So now in this phase of your life, you've found kind of more of that purpose and direction. As you think about, so where do I go from here? What does this look like? How I continue my impact? What are some of the things that you've been kind of thinking through for yourself as you kind of continue the impact you've had in the community?
I don't know.
That's fine. And that's a good answer.
I just, like I said, I want to do everything and help everybody and be as involved as I can in everything. I joined Pathways for Change, and then I discovered more things that aren't necessarily part of that story, but have become a part of my story now.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the board of WSRE, public television. I know that's very important for childhood development, which I love children. I have 8 nieces and nephews.
You do.
Love them to death. So I'm involved in that. And then, I've discovered my own thing just by connections and getting involved with different things like Gulf Coast Kids House and the Little Theater and Impact 100. And things have seemed to have happened so organically for me that it's just been flowing. And I don't know, I haven't really sat down and thought, like, what's next?
That's fair.
And maybe I should.
I mean, now's the time. Let's do it right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, how much
right now?
How much rosé do we have?
We've got some more. No, I think that's okay too, because I think what you shared just now, I think is really important too, is paying attention to the flow of it though. Mm-hmm. Like there's something happening now that's helping put you exactly where you are.
Right.
And I think we also can't force the next steps in our journey. I think oftentimes we try to, especially in moments of frustration or disappointment. Or just moments where we're trying to do more, right? Yeah. So I actually love the honesty and transparency of you being like, not really sure, but there's a lot that's happening that you're enjoying. Mm-hmm. So as you are thinking about maybe that direction too, like some of the things that's happening that you're enjoying, what are some of the things that you've been involved in maybe over the past year that you're like, oh wow, this is kind of thinking about where you were before, where Pensacola was before and where we are now. I mean, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on that.
So like I said, we're doing a lot with homelessness within our organization, and I know that's an issue, and I didn't realize how impactful that could be if people really did that and took it and ran with it. Like our company, Aimee Pensacola is what it's called, of Pensacola. Ms. Reeves has this idea of building a tiny home. There's this great program in Tallahassee. It's called, I can't remember what it's called right this second, the Dwellings, I think.
Okay.
But it's this great community in Tallahassee, and it's this 3-step program, and they have very low, I guess a low rate of homelessness. I don't know how you word that over there because of this wonderful 3-step program. And there's this little tiny home community over there called the Dwellings.
Oh, wow.
And in the last year or so, I went over there with Ms. Reeves and the mayor and a couple of other people and toured that, and saw what we could do here in Pensacola and thought, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Obviously, they already know this is amazing. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, this is like another thing that we need and could happen. And, with all of there's a lot of the homelessness issues right now with the camps and just all of the stuff that happened during COVID. So it's been like a huge hot topic right now, but to see something actually happening and us actually doing something about it is really cool. I don't know if I answered your question exactly.
Oh, you absolutely did. Okay. Yeah. Well, because I think we see things, right? And I think a lot of people see things from the outside looking in, and it's the question of, but what is being done to help support change?
Absolutely. And it's a big thing of, you see it and you want to do it and you want to help, but being like hands-on and actually being up close and personal with it. Like we actually built the very first, little model tiny home in Pensacola, and it was just an example of what could be. It wasn't a homelessness tiny home. It was just strictly an example. And it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is so cool. I'm like, should I live in a tiny home? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing because that, and like we spoke about the vicious cycle of mainly like the system of getting caught and people that can't get in trouble. And a lot of it's veterans and a lot of it, I don't even know their situation, but you know, get in trouble. And then that's how their life ends up.
Yeah.
So it could be amazing if, you know, it just came to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, I love the honesty and the direction of, I think so many times we think we have to have like the answers, and it's not so much the answers, it's the ability to actually execute on an idea.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel that coming through in what you're talking about. And also the ability to infuse your story to help share your passion and use that to help support other people's stories, which I love the most about you. I like, and you know how much I love it. I love your authenticity. Like Aimee is what you see is what you get with Aimee, which is fabulous. But also you're not afraid to go to some of the hard places, which I love too. And I think it really does just embody Fearlessly Made You. And I so appreciate you sharing your story and sharing the story.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about kind of the things that are going to continue to happen and progress for you in the community, because I think that you have a voice and a story that needs to continue to be told. And I appreciate you for sharing that. And I appreciate you being on Fearlessly.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you asking me.
Of course. And as always, guys, you know, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you guys for being so invested and engaged in the story with Aimee and I and our beautiful outfits from Dillard's. Beautiful. But as always, guys, please make sure you stay tuned to the next episode of Fearlessly Made You.